Hey guys, it's Angelo, and after some time into the expansion now, and after being able to gather some more information, which is very detailed across the board, we can safely establish some more effective and capable Mythic dungeon groups at this point in time. With a lot of balancing changes, many things have changed in comparison to our previous look at Mythic dungeon setups, some for the better and some for the worst. I'll run through 3 good compositions with you, with all 3 of them being exceptional in my opinion really, so let's go ahead and analyze which setups can get you those 3 chests the best. Please keep in mind that if your class or spec has not been mentioned in this video specifically, this in no way means that they are not viable in higher keystone leveled dungeons. My goal is to discuss every class at one point in this series and have most setups covered by that time. Now, before we elaborate on this even further, we need to once more consider a few factors. I won't go into detail this video, but if you want a more intense rundown of what's important in a Mythic Plus or rather high Mythic Plus group and their setup, you should go ahead and watch my previous video on Mythic dungeon setups. That being said, the groups we're focusing on today bring an array of factors into play. CC abilities, movement speed increases, AoE damage, and single target damage. These factors play a pivotal role in completing a Mythic Plus dungeon with 2 chests and become unavoidable when you are aiming for 3. That being said, and without any further ado my friends, let's go ahead and have a look. Our first comp is formed by a Protection Warrior, a Holy Paladin, a Fire Mage, a Havoc Demon Hunter, and an Outlaw Rogue. This composition excels in multiple aspects. Tons of AoE damage to deal with big pulls, strong defensive cooldowns on both the warrior and the paladin, which forms a great tank and healer synergy, and very solid CC with up to 5 infight stuns, a sap, a repentance if needed, and a sheep. This creates the ultimate control over the fight at all times, and this group setup excels with affixes like Raging, Tyrannical, Teeming, Volcanic, and yes, even Necrotic. Every spec has movement speed capabilities of their own as well, which makes it easy to move from pack to pack. On top of that, warriors are able to get aggro from range, and should there be an aggro issue anyways, the rogue and the demon hunter are both able to tank for a few seconds, especially with a paladin in their back. The only weakness of this setup is the lacking combat res. Should things go south, the group is hindered by the fact that they either have to wait for the fight to be finished before being able to resurrect dead group members, or will have to waste time running back. A Guardian Druid, a Fire Mage, a Shadow Priest, an Elemental Shaman, and a Restoration Druid make up another group that has the aspect of control on their side. This group brings control CC to a whole nother level once more. Single target stuns, as well as timed AoE stuns from both the Elemental Shaman and the Shadow Priest, paired up with Ursal's Vortex, create great opportunities for very big pulls on very high mythic levels and allow the group to progress through the dungeon in a quick fashion. The Elemental Shaman is also able to buff the entire group's movement speed with the Windwalk Totem, while the Shadow Priest is able to mass the spell, therefore relieving the healer from a bit of stress. The Guardian Druid can use a Stampeding Roar to make moving, along with the Elemental Shaman's Totem, in between mob groups even smoother. The tank and healing synergy here is once more very solid, with strong cooldowns on both ends of the spectrum, so on both the healer and the tank. This group, just like our first one, is able to push through high level keystones with ease, and the only thing that would hinder them really, and just slightly, is the priest's ramp up time, and heavy reliance on Surrender to Madness to perform well on bosses, at least currently. If executed correctly though, this saves the entire group a lot of time and is well worth the risk. Our final group for today consists of a Protection Paladin, a Windwalker Monk, a Marksmanship Hunter, and a Fury Warrior, as well as a Restoration Shaman last but not least. This group is just as capable as pushing higher keystone levels than the ones we discussed before, but has one flaw within it that creates a risk. The risk is absolutely no issue if dealt with properly and completely, but has the potential to create further issues. But let me explain on this in more detail. The Monk, the Warrior, and the Hunter create heavy AoE damage, which enables the Paladin, who also does a lot of multi-target damage, to do very big and solid pulls. The Monk's Leg Sweep, the Hunter's Binding Shot, and the Warrior's Shockwave create control in these big pools, while the Restoration Shaman can also support the group with an AoE stun of his or her own. The only problem is created when this is not properly communicated throughout the entire group. The Paladin has incredibly strong cooldowns, but needs to have them up and running while the damage is incoming in order to be effective as a tank. During the Paladin's downtime, he takes a considerable higher amount of damage and is actually relatively squishy compared to other tanks. This means that affixes like Raging or Tyrannical, as well as Necrotic, can cause the group severe problems if the safety of the group isn't put first at all times. The Restoration Shaman simply does not have the cooldowns to his disposal that Paladins or Druids have when they're healing, for example, and is a lot stronger on group healing than on single target healing. Apart from this issue, this group is another one that is very mobile, very effective, and only lacks a combat res really should big pulls become an issue. When running this group or a similar one, I personally would recommend maintaining control via smaller pulls rather than doing big pulls all the time. It's not always worth the risk, my friends. And that concludes today's look at some Mythic Dungeon setups. Obviously, there's much more to cover in the future and countless of compositions that are yet to be discussed, so be prepared to see more videos on this series to release regularly in the future. Let me know in the comments below if there are any compositions you would like me to discuss, and be sure to let me know what you thought about the compositions that were presented in this video today. Also guys, we are approaching 2,000 subscribers at a rapid rate. When I started this channel around 3 months ago, I would have never expected the growth we are seeing here today, and I'm so grateful for every one of you to give me a chance at expanding upon what I like doing the most, which is talking about video games and giving other players a place to go when they are in doubt. That being said, I'm doing a Q&A with a little surprise for you once we have reached the 2,000. If you have any questions you want to have answered, be sure to write them in the comments or send me a private message, or even use my channel's discussion tab to do so. I'll be sure to look at as many questions as I can and will implement them in the upcoming Q&A video. As always, thank you so much my friends, have a good one, and I will see you all in the next one.